Have you ever wondered how to make your wishes come true? Well, it's not by blowing out the birthday candles. It's actually by taking a ribbon and tying it to a tree and then allowing the wind to carry it off to the spirits so they may grant your wishes. And you might be thinking, this is crazy. This is not something that is done. But it's actually something that has been done by so many different cultures from all around the planet. Today in this video, we're going to be talking about the history of wishing trees, how you can do them today in a way that doesn't damage the environment, and ultimately how this tradition is not part of just one culture, but part of our human identity. And it's something I'd love to see more and more all around the world. So much to discuss in today's video, discussing wishes and how to make them come true. So to start us off, where in the world is this actually done? The place that I've seen it the most is the Anglo-Celtic Isles, or England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. And it really is all over. I've seen it in sacred groves, and healing springs, wells, and it really does seem to be something that's gone back into the very far past when it comes to Europe in general. The first place I actually saw these Clooties, or these healing ribbons, was actually in Germany at a healing spring in Bavaria. And I've seen them all over. I've seen them in the Netherlands at a sacred oak there. I've seen them in Estonia at a shaman festival. But something I also want to mention is that this is something that has been carried on into Christian traditions. The people leaving Clooties, or these healing ribbons or prayer ribbons at these sites today are very rarely actually pagan. What I really like looking into when it comes into Christian conversion is what traditions were kept and transitioned into the Christian era. And so things like the gods became the saints, healing wells became anointed by saints and gotten stories around the saints, such as St. Olav's well in Trondheim. But then there's also the healing ribbons and the Clooties. So many of the people that still leave these ribbons today do so actually in a Catholic or Christian mindset. And just like house spirits or the Fae, another thing that was kept into the Christian era, I think it's because people genuinely believed that these things worked and were important. Now, the other countries these are found in, most notably is the Southeast Asian countries. And so one of the most popular forms of this you'll see is the Tibetan prayer flags. And these prayer flags have a stamp or a painting of a mantra on it often. And it's very interesting because this is something many of us have seen because it's really popular in New Age hippie movements, but also yoga. But these go back for a very far amount of time. And it's something that is seen all over Southeast Asia from what I can tell. And these are meant to be prayers or wishes that are tied to other objects, but also trees. And in general, the idea of tying prayers or wishes to trees seems to be something very common in a vast majority of Asian countries, including China, Japan, Thailand, and as well as India. And another culture to talk about is one I've learned a little bit more from, and that is the Siberian or the Mongolian, who have the chamalas, or kamalas, I believe they're called, which are also tied to trees. Sometimes not in a very similar fashion to what we'll be talking about today in this video. Sometimes it's all the way around the tree, and this is something I saw in the Indian sources, is that they tied them to the base of the trunk of a tree rather than the branches. And if you really think about it, the Christmas tree is one of the most prominent examples of us taking an object, a tree, into our homes at a sacred time of year during the solstice, and then decorating it with ribbons and garland and ornaments, all for blessings and beauty and that time of year and family. So really, humanity tying things to trees, it transcends spirituality, transcends religions. It really is at the core of humanity and our connection with nature. So now let's go over how to actually do this for yourself. So what are you going to need to ask a wish from a tree? Well, first off, you need some kind of ribbon. And as we're going to discuss later on, having organic cotton ribbons is very important. Please do not buy synthetic plastic ribbons. I found these on Amazon. I'll link them down below. These work great. They're not going to stay forever. They're going to blow, look naturally, and honestly just look really nice. I like the more natural colors. You see a lot of really fake stuff, but we'll cover that here soon. And then you're just going to need a very normal size knife in order to cut the ribbon itself. So cut your ribbon. Then if you want to get extra pagan with it, I recommend having some kind of offering of sorts. I have just grain, just oats right here. I'm going to leave as an offering as well. And then all you need is a tree, preferably a sacred one. And this is where I saw online that many different people are like, oh, this is the most sacred of trees. Every single culture seems to have like 50 different sacred trees. And so getting persnickety about what tree you use, I don't think is very useful. If it means something to you, that's great. But I'm just saying that historically and culturally, I've seen so many different trees used. So just choose the one that is the most sacred to you. So if it's a hawthorn, if it's an oak, if it's an elm, a cypress, it really doesn't matter too much as long as the intention is there. So once you have found your tree and your low-hanging branch to hang your ribbon from, take your cotton ribbon, respect it. I always recommend putting things to your head and what your thoughts are, what what your feelings are to the heart. If you have any words to say, pray to the ribbon, whisper to it. Another thing you can do is actually write on the ribbon as well your wishes or draw on it. But for me, I always just whisper my prayer to the ribbon itself. And then to actually tie it to the tree, what I've been taught is make a nice little loop, like a little ribbon loop, and then gently take it around and then take it on through. You don't want to make it too tight. You don't want to have to like super knot it because you want these eventually to degrade, to blow freely in the wind. If you make them too tight, then the wind can't blow freely and then the wind can't carry your wishes into the horizon. And then if you want to go the extra pagan spiritual step, then there's the offering. And so with the offering, just make sure it's anything that's natural, that's not going to harm the local environment. So grains seem to be really good. This is something I learned from Ireland, is giving grains such as oats is a really good way to give offering that's going to just bless the environment. Like seriously, nature eats this up. So yeah, let's take a moment, reflect on the tree itself, ask the tree spirit, the elves, the fae, whatever you connect with, or just the tree, simply thank you for allowing my wishes to hang here. Thank you for carrying, thank the wind, thank you the spirit of wind for allowing my wishes to be carried, and may my wishes, my prayers be granted. Thank the spirit of the tree, thank all the spirits who listen to my prayer. Give it your offering. Now, let's talk trash in front of the trash can. Because some of you may be thinking at this point, well, this is just littering. You're just littering with purpose and intention. And to some extent, you're actually correct, because the vast majority of people who practice this tradition in the New Age do so incorrectly and unethically. The vast majority of offerings left in this way are synthetic plastic ribbons or plastic gifts. I mean, there's one in Ireland that was literally just all plastic on this tree. I've seen them all over Scotland and England, plastic ribbons, but not just plastic ribbons, but plastic toys and really just trash just tied to trees. Now, the images I'm showing you right now are actually from a really bad site that became notorious and actually had articles written about it, about this tradition and how it actually is damaging environments and how this whole area had to be cleaned up. And so there definitely is a dark side to this. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, is to acknowledge that dark side, is that when this is done improperly, you really are just littering with intention. So truly, I'd love to see more people do this, but do it in an ethical way that doesn't damage the environment. So using cotton, organic materials, not using anything with plastic, making sure these things fade away eventually, are not tied so desperately tight to these trees. And another thing I want to mention here is another popular tradition in the UK in particular, but also all around the world, is the leaving of coins. Now, this is an interesting one because this one's actually relatively historic. The leaving of coins at sacred sites has been done for well over 1,000 years. But now with science and a more ethical, ecological mind, we realize that putting coins into trees, especially ones are modern coins. This might not have been as true with gold coins or silver coins, but with our more mixed metal coins, they're poisoning the tree. And not only when you put a coin into a crack of a tree or a crack of a wall, you're damaging that irrevocably. And there's so many different trees, especially in like Donino's Den in Scotland when I was there. There's a tree that has just been absolutely destroyed with coins. And to me, I have that bump thing where I don't like seeing lots of tiny holes, and this really does it for me. So not only is it damaging the tree, but it's disturbing me, so stop doing it. This is something we really need to stop, and we really need to encourage people not to do. Even though, again, it is actually historic, but it's something we know now is a bad tradition. Leaving things that are organic, that are going to biodegrade, is a much better way to honor nature, the spirits, and probably grant your wishes as well. So let's say you do find someone that has left a synthetic ribbon. Does that mean that you should take it down? That's a hard one, because if someone did put prayer and intention behind a synthetic ribbon, you don't want to necessarily take down their wishes. So perhaps a better solution is to replace it. And so taking down someone's synthetic ribbon and replacing it with something that is biodegradable, I think is good. And so actually asking it like, hey, I'm asking to take you down. May the, to the tree, to the spirits, may their wishes still be granted, but I'm replacing it. I think this is probably the best way to go about it. Some people might disagree with me. And in general, let me know your thoughts down below, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Let me know if you think this is a tradition that needs to go away, or if it's something that is really special that we need to see more of. Tying wishes to trees is not something I've seen very much in prominence in neo-paganism in the United States. I've not come across too many wishing trees, Clootie trees, or Clootie wells. And it's something I do want to see more, because it's a very beautiful and ethereal tradition that I think so many different people can get behind. your spiritual and non-spiritual family members alike, children and elders and families and communities, I think can get behind this tradition. And I think it's something that is really beautiful when it's done well, when it's done right. And so that's why I made this video, is to go over this tradition historically, but also as it survives today, and to go over that darker side. So this video can hopefully educate those who are interested in this tradition and spread it further, but in an ethical and ecologically less impactful way. So thank you so very much for joining me for this video discussing how to grant your wishes. And I hope all of your blessings come from asking these wishes of these trees and these spirits. And I really do hope to see more of this in an ethical way all around the United States and all around the world, because it is a really beautiful global tradition that I think connects us as cultures and peoples with the spirits of our world.